There are roughly 11 million recreational vehicles registered in the United States. Between 200,000 and 400,000 of them, depending on which industry tracker is counting, are sitting abandoned on private lots, behind storage facilities, and on the outskirts of small desert towns. The owners have died, divorced, gotten sick, or simply walked away from a payment plan. A growing number of those units are being bought, for cash, by widows in their late 60s and early 70s. The price is between $300 and $600. The buyer signs a release of liability form, hires a tow truck for $200, and pulls the RV onto a piece of leased Bureau of Land Management desert land in Arizona, Nevada, or New Mexico, where she will live in it for the rest of her life on a $1,400 monthly Social Security widow's benefit. This video documents how. Not the influencer version, not the renovation channel that turns a $40,000 Airstream into a Pinterest board. The unit in question is a 1994 Coachman with a leaking roof, a dead refrigerator, and the previous owner's belongings still in the cabinets. The woman buying it is 68 years old, was married for 41 years, and is doing this because the math on her widow's benefit and a one-bedroom apartment does not work and is not going to work. There are real obstacles. The desert in July hits 118 degrees Fahrenheit. The RV's original air conditioner has not run in a decade. The nearest hospital is 45 miles away. The buyer's adult children think she has lost her mind. Every one of those things is true, and every one of those things has a worked-out answer in the Desert Widow community. What follows is the operating manual as it actually exists. The first thing to address, because it appears in every comment section on this topic, is the heat. The Sonoran Desert in July reaches 115 to 118 degrees in the afternoon. An uninsulated RV in direct sun in those conditions reaches 140 degrees inside within 2 hours. This will kill a 68-year-old body. There is no creative workaround that changes this fact. The widows who live in the desert do not live there in July. The migration pattern is the same one snowbirds have followed for 60 years, only inverted by income. They winter in Quartzsite, Slab City, the BLM lands outside Yuma, and the desert south of Tucson, where November through April temperatures sit between 55 and 75 degrees. In May, they move north. The summer destinations are the high desert of northern Arizona, the BLM lands above 7,000 feet in New Mexico, and the national forest land outside Flagstaff, where July highs run 78 to 85 degrees and nights drop to the 50s. The same $400 RV that would cook its occupant in Yuma is comfortable in Flagstaff. The second thing is safety. A woman alone in a desert is the image most viewers cannot get past. The reality of the BLM long-term visitor areas is that they are not isolated. Quartzsite hosts roughly 1.5 million seasonal visitors a year. Slab City's permanent population stays around 150 and triples in winter. The widow's nearest neighbor is rarely more than 100 yards away, and that neighbor is almost always another retiree. The community is older, predominantly female after the age of 70, and the social infrastructure is built around shared meals, shared tools, and shared CB radios. Violent crime against elderly women in these communities is statistically lower than in the suburbs they came from. The risk that does exist is from desert wildlife, weather, and medical emergencies, and the community has worked out responses to each. The third thing is medical. Medicare covers the desert widow the same way it covers anyone else. The closest emergency room from a BLM long-term visitor area is usually 30 to 60 miles. That is farther than urban Medicare recipients are used to, and closer than rural Medicare recipients in Montana or West Texas have lived with for decades. Routine appointments are scheduled in batches, 4 or 5 at a time, on a single trip into the nearest town every 6 weeks. Prescriptions are mailed to a P.O. box at the local post office. Annual physicals are done at the same Walmart clinic the snowbirds use. What does break is anything requiring weekly dialysis, in-home care, or specialist follow-up that cannot be batched. The widows with those needs do not move to the desert. The honest version of this video acknowledges that. For the rest, the trade is 45 minutes to the ER in exchange for $400 in housing. A note before we go into the specifics. This video documents a phenomenon in the American retirement crisis. It is reporting, not a recommendation. Living full-time on public land has rules and limits that vary by jurisdiction, and abandoned RVs come with title and liability issues that can be expensive to resolve wrong. We do not encourage circumventing the law. If you are a widow facing housing insecurity, please dial 211 or contact your local area agency on aging before making any decision. Step 1. Finding the abandoned RV. The cheapest RVs in 2026 are not on dealer lots. They are sitting behind storage facilities whose owners want them gone, on Craigslist listings posted by adult children settling a parent's estate, and in Facebook groups where small-town residents post free if you tow it once a month. The vehicles in question are from the 1980s to mid-1990s, Class C motorhomes built on Ford E350 or Chevy P30 chassis, Coachmen, Winnebago Mini, Fleetwood Tioga, Jamboree. The mechanical platform is the same work van platform from the cargo van community, which means parts are available at any auto parts store, and any mechanic in a small town can work on them. The living section behind the cab is a fiberglass shell, which is the part that determines whether the $400 unit becomes a home or a money pit. The standard search pattern is to filter Craigslist within 200 miles of any retirement belt city for RVs priced under $1,000, sort by date posted, and call every listing the morning it goes up. Storage facility owners are the best source. They charge $80 a month to store an RV nobody is paying for, and after a year of non-payment, they take title under state lien laws. They want the unit gone. A cash offer of $300 to $500 the same day is usually accepted. The inspection happens in the storage lot. The drivetrain is checked the same way as a cargo van. The roof is the deal breaker. A roof with active leaks means soft floors, rotted wall framing, and a renovation budget that exceeds the unit's purchase price by a factor of 10. A roof that is dry, even if ugly, means the unit is buyable. The flashlight goes into every closet, under every bed, into the floor of the bathroom. Soft means walk away. Step 2. The tow and the title. A 1994 RV with 90,000 miles on it does not, in most cases, drive itself to its new home. The drivetrain has been sitting for 2 to 5 years. The fuel is varnish. The brake lines are dry. Driving it on the interstate at 65 miles per hour is how widows end up walking away from their investment on the side of the road in Needles, California. The standard solution is a flatbed tow from the storage lot to the BLM site for between $200 and $600, depending on distance. Small-town tow companies in retirement belt counties run this trip routinely. The widow's adult son or a community contact in the destination town meets the tow truck and supervises the unload. Once parked on the BLM site, the RV does not need to move again for 14 days, which is the standard BLM stay limit before a required 25-mile relocation. The title issue is the one most amateurs get wrong. A unit sold by a storage facility under a lien is sold with a lien sale title, which is legal and accepted by every state DMV, but requires a specific paperwork sequence. The facility provides a notarized bill of sale and a copy of the lien sale documentation. The widow files for a clean title in her state of residence, which costs $50 to $90 and takes 4 to 8 weeks. Buying without paperwork is how widows end up with an undrivable, unregistrable, unsellable lump of fiberglass on a piece of public land. Step 3. The roof, the seals, and the leak. The roof of a 30-year-old fiberglass RV is the single largest cause of unit failure, and the single most fixable problem with a $400 unit. The original rubber EPDM roof, if it is still intact, gets a coat of Dicor self-leveling lap sealant at every seam, every vent, every antenna mount. One tube costs $12 at any RV supply store. A full unit takes 6 tubes. Total cost, $72. The application is a caulking gun and an afternoon. Done correctly, the seal lasts 7 years. If the original roof is rotted, the budget repair is a roll of Eternabond tape, a self-adhesive rubber membrane that bonds to fiberglass, metal, or old EPDM and stops water cold. A 50-foot roll covers most leaks for $90. The application is a roller and a rag. The roll lasts a decade. Window seals are recaulked the same way. Door gaskets get a $20 replacement strip. The bathroom vent gets a new $30 cover. The entire weatherization process for the unit is 1 weekend and roughly $250 in materials. The widow who skips this step spends the next winter in a unit that smells like mildew, and the next summer in a unit whose interior swells with humidity. The widow who does it correctly has a dry shell that holds its value indefinitely. Step 4. Water and the desert tank system. A 1994 RV has a 30 to 50 gallon freshwater tank, a 30-gallon gray water tank, and a 25-gallon black water tank. None of those tanks are large enough for desert living, and the pump that moves water between them has not worked since the Clinton administration. The standard upgrade is an additional external 65-gallon potable water tank from a Tractor Supply store for $180, plumbed into the unit through a $20 inlet fitting. Total freshwater capacity becomes roughly 100 gallons, which is 2 to 3 weeks of drinking, cooking, and basic hygiene for one person at desert consumption rates. Refills happen at the water station every long-term BLM site has, where filtered potable water sells for 10 cents a gallon. A widow filling 100 gallons every 3 weeks spends roughly $40 a year on water. The gray water tank is emptied into a portable 15-gallon tote tank that wheels behind the truck to the BLM dump station, also on site, for $5 per dump. Black water goes the same route. The setup is undignified and is also what makes the math work. A municipal water and sewer hookup at a private RV park is $400 to $600 a month. The widow's full annual water and sewer cost on BLM land is about $300. A 12-volt RV water pump, $80 at any RV supply store, replaces the dead original and pressurizes the entire system to functional hand washing and showering pressure. Step 5. Power, the desert sun, and the inverter. The original 1994 RV electrical system was built around a generator that no longer runs and a single 12-volt house battery that died in 2009. Rebuilding it is the largest single cost in the conversion and the most worthwhile. The system that runs a desert RV indefinitely is 2 100 amp-hour deep cycle marine batteries, $90 each used, wired in parallel through a 1,000-watt pure sine inverter from Harbor Freight for $90. The roof gets 2 100-watt rigid solar panels for $90 each, wired through a $40 charge controller. Total $490 used. The Sonoran Desert receives an average of 6.5 sun hours a day in winter and 8.5 in summer. 2 100-watt panels generate roughly 1,200 watt-hours daily, which is enough to run the lights, a 12-volt refrigerator, a CPAP machine through the night, a phone charger, and a small box fan continuously, with surplus left for cloudy days. The widow who adds a third panel for $90 gets enough headroom to run a small 12-volt evaporative cooler in the shoulder seasons, which extends the comfortable living window by 6 weeks on each end. The original generator is removed entirely. It is dead weight, fuel line fire risk, and worth $50 in scrap aluminum at any recycling yard. Step 6. Cooking, refrigeration, and the propane question. The original RV propane system was built around 2 20-pound tanks, a stove, an oven, a refrigerator, a furnace, and a water heater. 2 of those 6 things still work in a $400 unit, and the widow does not need the other 4. The 2 working items, in most cases, are the stove and the water heater. The stove is a 2-burner propane unit that lasts forever, runs off the same 20-pound tank a backyard grill uses, and costs nothing to maintain. The water heater is a 6-gallon tank that runs on propane and recovers in 30 minutes. Both get tested. The gas lines get inspected by a mobile RV technician for $80, and they continue working for another 30 years. The refrigerator is replaced. The original absorption refrigerator was a marvel of the 1970s engineering. It consumed propane continuously and failed in 3 years. The replacement is a 12-volt compressor fridge from Costco or Amazon, $300 to $450 depending on size, that runs off the house battery, draws 30 watts continuously, and lasts 15 years. The widow's annual propane bill drops from $400 to $80. The furnace and the oven are removed. Neither has worked since 2004. The space they occupied becomes pantry storage. Step 7. The land, the mail, and what happens if discovered. Federal BLM land in the American West allows free dispersed camping for a 14-day stretch, after which the camper must move at least 25 miles before returning. This is the rule that lets widows live on public land permanently, by rotating between 3 or 4 sites within a 100-mile triangle. The long-term visitor areas are different. Quartzites La Posa LTVA, the Yuma Area Imperial Dam LTVA, and the boondocking sites outside Slab City offer 7-month permits, September through April, for $180 total. For the price of 1 month's rent on a studio apartment, a widow gets 7 months of legal residency on serviced public land with water, dump stations, and trash collection. The mailing address is established through a South Dakota, Texas, or Florida mail forwarding service, the same setup used by the cargo van community. America's Mailbox, Dakota Post, and Your Best Address provide a street address that satisfies Social Security, Medicare, the DMV, and the IRS. The total cost is $40 a month and 1 overnight stay at a campground in the residency state every 5 years. If a widow is discovered violating the 14-day rule on regular BLM land, the standard outcome is a verbal warning from a BLM ranger and a request to move along. A second violation in the same season is a $100 fine. Criminal exposure is functionally zero. Rangers in the retirement-heavy districts know the widows by name, check on them after storms, and consider them part of the landscape. The bigger picture. There are roughly 11 million widows in the United States over the age of 65. The average Social Security widow's benefit is $1,773 a month. The average studio apartment in an American city is $1,400. After utilities, food, and a single prescription copay, the widow with average benefits is $200 in the red every month, and has been for the last decade. The widows who end up on BLM land in Quartzsite are not the ones who failed at retirement. They are the ones whose husbands worked 40 years in jobs that paid into Social Security, took out a mortgage they finished paying in 1998, and died in 2018 of a heart attack at 71. The mortgage was paid. The house had to be sold to cover the medical bills. What remained, after the lawyers and the assisted living deposit her children pressed her toward, was the widow, a $1,773 check, and a country in which a 1-bedroom apartment costs more than that check. A $400 abandoned RV is not a solution to that problem. It is what someone does when no solution is available. There are 770,000 homeless Americans tonight. Roughly 138,000 of them are over 65, and a disproportionate number of those are widows. There are 200,000 plus abandoned RVs on American storage lots, behind facilities, sitting on small-town side streets. The numbers do not add up to a country that cannot solve this. They add up to a country that has chosen not to. The Social Security widow's benefit has not been meaningfully restructured for current housing costs since 1972. The widows pulling abandoned coachmans onto BLM land in 2026 are not the ones who got their lives wrong. They are the ones whose lives the system stopped accounting for. If you got something out of this video, subscribe. We document the parts of the housing crisis the headlines skip. Share this with someone who needs to know that $400 buys an abandoned RV, $250 buys a sealed roof, and the gap between a widow's Social Security check and an American apartment closes exactly where the country stopped honoring what it promised. The RVs are there. The widows are finding them. The desert is older than any of it,